Yeah. There.
Hello.
Welcome back to Therapy Unlocked, a podcast where we discuss all things therapy. I'm Emily Huffman, and this is Katrina Mondragon. I'm going to kick it over to Kat for a quick disclaimer.
Yes, quick disclaimer. I am a professional, not your professional. Nothing we're about to talk about should be taken as medical, legal, or otherwise advice. This podcast is purely for education and amusement. That's it.
Education, amusement, and because I would like to be famous. And as one of our recent commenters said, because I have a need for attention. So please like, subscribe, follow, find us on Instagram, and join the conversation. I personally love to get the comments, especially the ones that so clearly see me for who I am, which is, you know, uh, an attention whore. But
As
happy to be
evidenced by
here.
the hair, I think the comment said.
Yes, as evident by the hair. So, like, it was dual-sided. Like, I both got hyped up for my hair and also just like really seen as a person. That said, those things can be true. I both love attention and do give myself permission to be unavailable, which was the topic of our last podcast. Today's topic is a special episode. I wanted to talk about Valentine's Day.
Right? Valentine's Day has a long and I would say interesting history.
I see. I don't know much about the Valentine's Day lore other than I hear the dude wasn't that great and it's largely, you know, a capitalism thing to be where it's at right now. But that said, my thought for Therapy Unlocked was that there are so many loaded questions around Valentine's Day. What are you supposed to get your partner for Valentine's Day? What is the expectation to get a partner for Valentine's Day? Is that something that's a deal breaker in a relationship? How are you supposed to issue enough love and energy into Valentine's Day, when there's so much else going on right now, when you've just followed up Christmas and just followed up New Year's and there's special occasion fatigue. I just feel like there was a bunch that we could dig into from the therapy perspective on Valentine's Day, and also maybe why
Agreed.
you should give your partner the gift of you going to therapy.
All sounds great.
Vibes.
You
And we
mentioned,
have a first time ever listener question.
oh, awesome. You want to start with that?
Yeah, I would love to. All right. So, our listener question, which is anonymous, is it true that your love language is the opposite of your desired received method? Like, if your love language to people is gift giving, and that's how you show love, it is not the language you prefer from a partner.
I would argue not necessarily, because I've heard of love languages, which, if you don't know, are the acts of service, gift giving, um, words of affirmation. Help me out here, sister. There are two more: quality time
Touch.
and physical touch. That's the fifth.
Yeah.
So those are the five. And some people prefer one over another. Some people have multiple that they prefer. And some people have the same as their partner. And some people have the opposite. And not to say that there are opposites, but some people have different preferences and they can be the same or they can be different. So is it true? I don't know. It might be true for you. I don't know.
My love language is all of them. And I hold the semi-controversial belief that all of our love languages are all of them. I've made the in relationship comparison before to saying that, like, here are my cups, my love languages, and I need to fill them all to whatever standard I need them to be filled. So maybe my gift receiving cup is like a shot glass, but my words of affirmation cup is the Grand Canyon. And that might be true. There might be something that I need more than I need something else. But that doesn't mean I don't need all of them, because if you're getting into a relationship with someone, it just feels to me like, at least it is for me, that those are just human needs.
Yes. And speaking of human needs, I think that they are important to communicate. Those uncommunicated expectations that people have, especially around Valentine's Day, I think that's where people get disappointed. That's where people fall
Yeah.
short and they don't get what they want because they never asked for it. They never said, hey, this is a really special day for me. This is what I expect. Not this is what to get me or anything like that. Just this is the intention I have behind it. And maybe this is the effort I'd like to see put forth.
I'm so proud of your personal growth, and I'm going to tell a sisterly story here because I remember a girl, maybe fresh out of college, that let her boyfriend at the time know, I expect to receive lingerie for
YZ.
Valentine's Day and
Let's
be
just say
taken
XYZ.
here and then do this. It was extremely Vulcan. And you informed me then after, you were like, I told him what to get me as a Valentine's gift. And I said, you asked him for the Valentine's gift? And you said, no,
No, I
I
told.
told him what I expect. I mean, Sprinkle Sprinkle, you were the original of the Sprinkle Sprinkle girls. Um, no, you're
Yes,
entirely right. We need to
we
be
all
speaking
grow.
up for ourselves. What do you think if one partner has that feeling, has that need to have a special celebration for Valentine's Day? Like, I'd like to receive a gift, I'd like to go on a date, or whatever it may be. I'm not saying that's my expectations, but like whatever it may be, the other person doesn't buy in. They don't do Valentine's Day. It's not really a thing for them.
That would be
How do you
something to
how do you
communicate
handle
between the
that?
two of them. Yeah, that would be a conversation to have. Come to a compromise between the two of you. Maybe it's not a big to do where you go out on the town, but maybe it's a nice dinner that's a little bit more than you would have normally, where the phones get sat down, that kind of thing. Or maybe
The
if it's a
phones get sat down. That's a dynamite segue to uh where I wanted to touch on as a Valentine topic du jour. And that is, what is the therapist's perspective on social media
delete it.
in relationships?
Delete it. Well, what do you mean in relationships? What do you mean just in relationships? Is it healthy? Is it
Flip
unhealthy?
it. Flip it right there. What's the therapist perspective on social media? Delete it. Social media in relationships, as it relates to Valentine's Day, I mean, should he post you? Should she post him? Should there be some public declaration? Is there a standard at this time that there should be some public declaration? Or is it better to have that private relationship in a day and age where a private relationship runs the risk of seeing your man on Are We Dating the Same Guy on Facebook?
I do think that's a personal preference. Some people lead much more private lives, celebrities included. You don't see them out in public, even with their significant others, versus some people, influencers maybe, where you see them getting their kids ready for school, that kind of thing.
Oh, kids and social media. That's a topic. That's a topic for another day. It's not very Valentine themed, but I think I could break some hearts and offend some people. Talk about my need for attention, because let me tell you, my need for attention is always going to be larger than my need to show you my children. Wild. Yeah, that said, no, I see what you mean. I feel like social media causes so much interference in relationships now that I'm inclined to agree with your first statement, which is delete it. But that said, some of us use it for our work, use it for our professions, find it unavoidable. It is a pleasant pastime. I can't imagine my day if I didn't spend some time scrolling. And honestly, if somebody's finding us right now, it's because they're doing the same. And I appreciate it. So I would hate to say that everybody needs to delete their social medias, but I think that there's etiquette. And I think that there's maybe,
Do you think there's a gray area with the particular one that we sometimes go on called YouTube, is that social media or is that a video platform? What do you think?
Social media. I think it's 100% social media. And I think it's interesting that you say a gray area because of the oversaturation of apps. So let's say you're friends with your partner or your spouse on TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, but not YouTube, Reddit, or Instagram. And when you're on TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, you're acknowledging your partner, you're participating in the relationship in that way. Maybe you send things back and forth or you communicate on those platforms. But when you're on the other platforms, you follow creators that you would be interested in sexually, et cetera, et cetera. I personally view that as infidelity.
Interesting. Like virtual infidelity or emotional infidelity?
Both. I think the virtual infidelity is emotional infidelity because, and that's my expectation, and that's not for everyone. And let me tell you, you can find me on Feet Finder, but you won't find me on your spouse's Feet Finder. I'm not going to go check that out. Like, because personally, I'm in a relationship. So you're not going to find me in someone's comments, in someone's DMs, subscribing to someone, having a page that's private or not openly sharing that information. Now, am I a relaxed person? Do I enjoy all different kinds of people? Am I just like, grabbing up, different content creators to see and enjoy and all that stuff? Absolutely. But I'm considerate of my partner in that. Like, I'm not going to add an ex boyfriend if he pops up on my page. But especially, I'm not going to add, an ex or a whole lot of, you know, visual competition for who I see on a regular basis, especially not on a platform that they're not participant in, even if they're not participant in it because they just don't particularly use it, you
So
know?
exes and Valentine's Day, what do you think about having relationships with your ex in a healthy way where you acknowledge their current spouse maybe and celebrate their spouse in that way, not like
Yeah.
celebrating them with them, but like maybe liking their post, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. I'm such a huge supporter for that. I feel like ideally, any relationship end should lead to the kind of situation where you're happy for each other. You're happy for their further growth or, what they have that's going to happen next. Now, I've never met her. I think that's an ideal, but like personally, I'm more like that country song where it's like, think of a reason later, except I thought of a few already. Like, but
Exes are
she's
exes for a reason, right?
because they're exes for a reason. Absolutely. I feel like that happens a lot. But I feel like people can be exes for a reason and be cool with each other. I would not make a significant other or a partner remove an ex from their life, and I actually think it's really attractive, as like a single mother, that like the dating pool. Speaking of being a single mother, excuse me, yes son. No, you may not. I'm recording. I am. I am recording right now. I definitely am. All right, thank you. I'm
And we're
not
back.
going together.
We can
I mean,
pause.
we're here. I'm not going right. I'm not. And we're back, because he was not going away. That's what he said. And we do call him the boss man. So now that boss man is occupied, where I was that as a single mother, my dating pool generally includes other people's baby daddies. I would have a terrible time being attracted to a bad baby daddy. I want you to have a good relationship with your ex so that I don't feel like you're a bad parent.
Called co-parenting.
Exactly. It's called co-parenting. It's time to rise above the. Why would I care that at one point in time you hopped on my pop? That's not my problem. you were done with them. That's how I ended up with them. That's not, it's a non-issue, you know? Like, but do let me know if he's jipping you on child support because he's not taking me to dinner. Like, not gonna happen. I feel like that's unattractive if they're not a good co-parent, so therefore not in a good relationship. So yeah, I absolutely would want whoever I'm with to like their ex's picture on Valentine's Day.
I think I heard you mention something earlier about like people being in control or something about deleting people that have exes. Basically, if people are trying to tell people who they can communicate with in any relationship, I don't care if it's a romantic relationship or of a friendship. If somebody says like
Yeah.
you can't be friends with them to be friends with me, oh no 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 no, that's unhealthy.
Wait. Since we're talking on the social media narrative, okay? So I think that you can in this circumstance and situation, but it throws back to what we talked about last week. I think it legitimately is a relationship boundary because if you go to your partner and you say, if you are following these exes, these OnlyFans models, these various accounts, you can't be with me, then you're not controlling them. You're setting a boundary. And then it's on you to remove yourself from the scenario after you set that boundary. Because if you don't remove yourself from the scenario, then you're just nagging, controlling, picking, whatever. But if you set the expectation beforehand that you're like, hey, in a relationship, I view this as infidelity, and then they continue to do the
That's the
perceived
communication.
infidelity.
Yes, communication of expectations is important.
Right. But in that conversation, I do think you could say a version of you can't talk to them. You can't be friends with, if you're friends with them, you're not friends with me. Like, I think you could do that. But I think it's important to look at it through both lenses. You don't want to have someone that's controlling, but it's okay to stand up for your own self-worth.
Yes, and there's an acronym for that. I don't know if you've ever heard of that FAST acronym.
No.
It's from the Dialectical and Behavioral Therapy by Marsha Linehan. She created it for borderline personality disorder, and I don't remember all of the specific what they stand for. The F is for something, the A is for assertive, the S is for self-respect, and the T is for something. So it does stand for something. It's a little formula for standing up for yourself in a conversation. You
I
can
love
Google it.
that. Yeah, look it up. I want to hear this. I need all the input on how to stand up for yourself in a conversation. You know what trend I love to see right now? Or I guess it's not a trend, it's just a sound I've heard. And that is um, a young woman who was in a debate and uh, as she was going through the debate against a man, she says, no, I'm speaking. 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 And I thought that was so incredibly powerful because you don't need to swear, you don't need to go off, you don't need to yell. But sometimes people need to acknowledge that, no, I'm speaking.
And you wait till they're done,
Facts. I'm
which can
terrible
be
at that.
it can be harder on Zoom. You'll notice sometimes we talk over each other. It's because the audio, that's just how Zoom works. Sometimes we hear it after it happens.
Facts. Also, I'm terrible at it. I think it might be a little of the ADHD, but it's almost like I can't control a thought sometimes. I assume I hear the end of what you said, and I'm like, yep, I've got the response right here. I've got it loaded and locked and ready. And then other times, people talk at me for 10 minutes, and I'm listening very intently to them saying, wah, 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 wah.
So I have a total tangent.
Love
Do
it.
you ever actively listen to such an extent that you forget what it was that you had over here that was going to be said?
On the regular, and that could be all the gardening, to be honest.
Or
I
it's
think
just
gardening, I think gardening really makes you an active listener from time to time that has a hard time actively listening. I heard every word you said, but I did not compile the message.
That's where the wah 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 wah
Wah,
wah.
wah, 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 wah. All right, did you find it?
What was I was looking for something?
Yeah, fast, the way to stand up for yourself in a conversation fast, which a lot of people might need on Valentine's Day if their communicated expectations are not met.
I definitely did find it, but forgot for a moment. It stands for fair. Be fair. So be fair to yourself and the other person, validating feelings and wishes as well as the other person's, even if you don't agree. Then the A is for apologies. No apologies. No apologizing for being alive or making a request at all. No over apologizing. No apologizing for having an opinion or for disagreeing. No looking ashamed, eyes and head down or body slumped, and no invalidating the valid.
The way
And
I
then
was literally, as you were saying that, going,
the S stands for stick to your values. So stick to whatever you do value, whatever that may be, and don't sell out your values or integrity for reasons that aren't very important, but be clear on what you believe is the moral or valued way of thinking and acting. Essentially, stick to your guns, is what it's saying. T is for truthful. So be truthful, don't lie, and don't act helpless when you're not. Don't exaggerate or make up excuses. So that's for fast. I forgot that the A was for apologies. I said assertive, didn't I? That's a
you
different
did.
one.
You said assertive, which I like,
I think
but
that's dear man.
I feel like you still embodied the it's hard to be assertive and apologize. You can't say I'm sorry. I mean, sure you can, but it doesn't sound very assertive, you know? So I think you still got it within the wheelhouse of what to do. And I think that was nothing but just excellence. I don't care who that was written for. It probably could be sent out to every middle school girl I've ever met.
We'll put a link in the description.
Excellent. I love a link in bio. Speaking of link in bio and speaking of Valentine's Day, I just want to shout out whoever it was that sent us $1 and say, you can do it again. And we do have chat, and I'm so sorry. Kat rejected your dollar because she thought it was a scam. Um,
Definitely looked a little scammy.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't scammy. I'm pretty sure somebody wanted to chat with us. And if you did, please hit us up in the comments below. And as always, we do really appreciate any donations and any support of the podcast. You can find our Cash App in the bio. Kat may or may not reject your donation, so it's kind of like gambling. And we would love to have your support. More support means more content, more time that we can devote to this endeavor, to this side project, because I'm loving it. I don't know about you. Uh,
Oh yeah, so much fun.
yeah. Oh, it's a blast. Okay. So on Valentine's Day, I'm not sure if we did. We answered our viewer question. Our viewer question was, is it true that, your love language is not the same in giving as in receiving? And sure, it's true because maybe we have all of the love languages, or maybe it just differs from person to person. I feel like the love language debate is
Debatable.
infinite. Yeah, I've heard some interesting things about the origin of the love languages. Have you?
I just know it's from a book, and I forget the author's name. Oh, yeah, I don't know where it is.
So unfortunately, I don't have the setup you have, so I can't. Not at the moment, then. Unfortunately, I don't have the setup that you have, so I can't Google at the same time as we're doing the pod. But that said, it's my understanding that love languages are a lot like that Victoria's Secret song. And I know Victoria's Secret, and they were made up by a man.
I love that song. And Gary Chapman was the author of the five love languages. So maybe that's the reference, is that it was made up by an old man in Ohio. I don't know where Gary Chapman is from, but I know that song, Victoria's Secret, an old man in Ohio. Yes. Jax. Shout
Exactly.
out to
Yeah. So, from
Jax.
what I understand, love languages are just a hypothesis that had great PR. And there's not a lot of science backing it. There's not a lot of evidence-based research backing it. And it seems like anecdotally it's brought into the conversation a whole lot, but it doesn't have a whole lot of historic success in really improving people's relationships to switch to the dynamic of saying, we need to communicate with each other on these chosen love languages. And in fact, I think it can even lead to abuse in some circumstances where someone says, well, you must meet my love language of touch.
Ah, I hear what you're saying. So there is a relationship guru who I would recommend people look into by the name of Gottman, just GOTTMAN.com. No affiliation whatsoever. I'm not certified. I haven't done the trainings, but it's a relationship guy who has been doing research on couples for longer than I've been alive. I'm in my 30s. He is much older, much more research under his belt, and can identify like whether a couple will be together forever within like 10 or 15 minutes of observing them in their natural habitat, basically.
What do you
So they
think your
have,
success rate is?
what do you mean success rate? I don't do research.
Uh, Therapy unlocked. You're a therapist though. So let's just do some quick research right here, right now. You said he could determine if a couple was going to stay together within about 10 minutes. I'm not a therapist, but I think my success rate is probably like 80 to 90% on determining whether a couple will stay together within about 10 minutes. What do you think your success rate is?
I don't have measures. He has I don't know what your measures are, but I know he has measures, like measurable evidence-based
You
things
never
that he's
you never
looking
meet
for.
a couple and go, "Oh, okay." Like you don't meet a couple and from time to time or hear them out and go, don't get too attached to these feelings. They won't be around for 6 more months. Like, I
There-
definitely do. And sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong, but I still give myself like a 9 out of 10, maybe. Uh,
there's the occasional couples therapy where one person doesn't show. That's pretty predictable.
facts, facts. Oh, yeah, I'm not gonna go there. Did you know one can get fired from couples therapy? You can.
Yes.
You can get fired from couples therapy. And let me tell you, if you get fired from couples therapy, hire the divorce attorney at that point in time. Save yourself some energy. That's
Don't
a
wait, litigate.
don't wait later day. Happy Valentine's Day. When we were talking about doing a Valentine's episode, we talked about which direction we want to take it. And I think we've gone in most of them, save one, which is how do we show our partner that we love them on Valentine's Day the therapeutic way?
The therapeutic way. What does that mean?
Therapeutic way. When I say the therapeutic way, I mean show up and act like you've been to therapy. How do we show our partner that we love them? Being our best selves, putting our best foot forward.
I guess I'm going to go back to something that doesn't have a lot of evidence based stuff behind it, but that quality time love language without the phone doesn't count. So putting away the electronics and having quality time, maybe playing a board game together or having an activity outside. If you have some people have
We're
those green
doing it.
class schemes
Uh,
or doing the dirty. Yes, it's there you go.
how do we show our love on Valentine's Day the therapeutic way? Doing it. No. Let's not use that clip. But no, I think that's great. I think that's a great answer. That quality time, that putting the phone away, you know.
Undivided attention can go a long way, even if it's only for a few minutes.
Right. I think that a lot of people feel, maybe intimidated or like they can't meet an expectation for Valentine's Day for their partner. I think a lot of men, especially, feel like there isn't a clear picture of what they should do for their partner, what they should do for their girlfriend or their spouse, or even, anyone in a relationship. You're going into Valentine's Day, maybe it's a new relationship, maybe it's an older relationship, and you think that you don't have a good idea or you don't know what to do. But at the end of the day, when two people are in love, the best idea is intentional energy.
Agreed. Intent matters.
Absolutely.
It can
Absolutely.
be it can be a handmade card from a pile of sticky notes. If all you can afford is the sticky notes that you already have, get creative.
Listen here, flowers grow for free in the park, boys.
And you
They
don't
grow
even
for
have to
free.
get, if you know how to make origami, you can turn that little
Mhm.
paper into flour. You can do something
Or
sweet for
challenge,
free.
do better. I want to challenge people. I want people to rise to their best expectations. You said if you know how to do origami, learn origami for your love. Like
If that's your
show up with
preference.
something new. Yeah, bring
I
that
have
energy.
seen I have seen some people learn the language of their loved one, like the native tongue of their loved one, in order to do something like propose.
That was one of my favorite things to witness as in my past life I was a sign language interpreter, and I met many wonderful people. And when I met a couple that was a pair, deaf and hearing, and the hearing person had made the choice to learn the language for the person that they loved. And generally they're some of the best signers you've ever seen. They're some of the most fluent signers you've ever seen and the most easily understood. And they are glues of social groups of people. And it is just a testament of love. And I think it's just an absolutely beautiful thing. So, yeah, all in line with the theme of it's not about how much money you have, it's not about where you go, where you can get into. It's definitely about intent. It's about locking in with that other person and meeting them where they're at, where they need to be.
Yeah, connecting and love and all that mushy shit.
Connecting and love and all that mushy shit. And for the rest of you, love yourselves. Love yourselves. If you are sitting at home and you are sad and you are heartbroken and you could not muster up a Valentine's date and you wanted one, be your own date, love yourself, because I think that's where that begins. I think we start with loving ourselves and then we can move on to loving other people. And, maybe sometimes that just doesn't work out and that's not the way that it goes. But if you have the opportunity to make that your starting place, wouldn't you want to try that?
Right. And if it's not like love, at least like. If you like spending time with yourself, somebody else might too.
And if you find yourself just tolerating your own presence, it's time for therapy.
Good point.
Yeah. Like, so I think on that note, we'll probably wrap it up for our Valentine's Day edition of Therapy Unlocked. I don't know how long this particular episode was, whether it will be a one-parter or a two-parter, but please join us on Instagram. Chime in the comments, subscribe to us over on YouTube. We're available on Spotify, Apple, almost anywhere that you can stream podcasts, you can find us.
All of the places, all of the things. Thank you all for existing. Later.
Peace.